What's oh my god, what the Odie, your camera's off,
It happens to the best of us, I guess.
apparently. What's up? What's up everybody? My name's Charlie Savage, and today we have a lot of Star Wars stuff to talk about. Uh what we're gonna be discussing the most today is the 2D micro series of Star Wars The Clone Wars that came out in 2003. Tarakatsuki's Clone Wars, correct?
Yep, Jindy. He's the same guy who made Powerpuff Girls and Samurai Jack. So if you're a '90s kid, you're pretty familiar with who he is. So
Yeah, he is an absolute legend. But yeah, so before we get into that, let's bring up today's news. God, the amount of glare coming from a Word document is absurd.
well,
Yeah, let me
that's
turn
kind
it
of how
in.
it goes, my friend.
But it's fine. We can turn on Dark Reader, and then that solves all my problems. Although now it's almost too dark, so whatever.
Just turn down your lights a little bit. So just give you some.
You think? This is great audio content right now.
Yeah, this is really what you want to be listening to on Spotify.
Yeah.
Stitcher,
Driving the kids to
YouTube,
school, whatever.
Twitch.tv/
Savage Gaming.
Savage Gaming.
But it's spelled weird, so you'll never find it if you only watch the audio show, unless you read the description. But now I'm making someone a distracted driver, and it's really all like downhill from here. Anyways.
Oh fuck! Let's cover some news, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, this week a lot of news compared to really our normal weeks. I think we've only had 1 week. And this was around the time we had all those post-Mandalorian announcements of all the new shows. So
yeah, that was the biggest time, but this is probably the second biggest. So
yeah,
you want to kick us off?
We're probably gonna I'll kick things off. We're kind of working down our list from like sketchy, reportedly in the headline links to like it's already happened and we're gonna talk about it. So
yeah,
first thing, Keanu Reeves, every gamer's favorite human being,
you're
has
breathtaking.
you're breathtaking. Has been reportedly casted in Star Wars. The idea originally blew up actually when there was this fan art released of Keanu Reeves as Jedi Knight and Revan and Darth Knight Revan from the famous Knights of the Old Republic video game. And it's reported now that he will be voice acting an animated character in one of the Old Republic animated series where he will be named King Valar. So we'll kind of see what that looks like. But like I said, literally anything you look up of King Valar, he is. I mean, it's gonna pull up Lord of the Rings first of all because they kind of stole the name, but it's also just gonna have reportedly in the tagline. So we'll see about that one.
Yeah, but that is exciting at least. Although it's really rare for them to ever really cast anyone you've normally ever heard of in Star Wars.
They've been doing that a lot more since the Disney property took over.
Yeah, but I don't know. They had Samuel L. Jackson in the prequel, so I can't say anything.
You know what? That's fair.
It's like, what else would you do? But yeah, apparently there's a whole Reddit dedicated to Keanu Reeves in Star Wars now. So,
which is pretty fucking dope. If you ask me.
That's really funny though. Reddit's fucking weird.
It's a weird fucking.
And now we're gonna. Speaking of things that are weird, we're gonna talk about something that's actually just sad. The Skywalker saga has somehow been delayed for like the third or fourth time. Yeah. And this article comes by way of Kotaku. Zach Zweisen, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, says, well, this sucks. Traveling Tales Games announced that today LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga will not be released in spring 2021 as planned. As you noticed, it's spring and it's not out. It has been delayed again. And this time, we don't have a new release date or window. So that's super unfortunate. This game is looking like.
I'm just gonna say it.
Is there someone that isn't? Name one person that doesn't like Lego Star Wars.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this: if you like Lego Star Wars, aka you have a pulse, just go on. If you have a computer, literally download the Harry Potter games on Steam. About every 3 weeks, they go on sale. I know because I watch these things and I own
Oh.
every Lego game because that's what my girlfriend and I like to do. We play Lego Harry Potter, Lego Star Wars, Lego Lord of the Rings. So if, as you can tell, I'm very fucking upset, but that's besides the point. Definitely play those. I honestly don't know what they're working on in this game because those Lego games are notoriously stable, notoriously easy to make. There's almost no voice acting other than yeah, like
Well,
just
now they
stupid
have full
little
voice
Greek notes.
acting because
What?
since the Marvel games.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, some of the Marvel games do, but that makes sense.
Yeah, the game's
Um,
gonna be fully voice acted. It's fully open world. They have random
which is
encounter
dope.
space battles. There's lots of cool things going on in this game. I really want it.
Berg, what the fuck is wrong with you? Sorry if we were ever gonna have sponsors, but unacceptable. Berg says, I don't like Lego Star Wars, and
It's
that's because you don't have friends.
Jesus.
I like Berg.
He's,
He's a better me.
I love Bert, but goddamn, that was rough.
Oh man. Oh shit.
It's
I'm
the same reason
very
why
quite
Jeremy
terrible.
doesn't like Sly Cooper is because he hasn't played it. Berg doesn't like Lego Star Wars because he hasn't played it.
Berg, I need to know, have you played Lego Star Wars?
This is the real question.
We'll continue on with the episode. I just need to know.
Yeah. And
Anyways,
what is probably the biggest news of the past 2 weeks and 2 days, this delayed podcast. This was that the bad. See, he hasn't played it. I told you. Bad Batch trailer was just released, and there's a lot of interesting things to break down.
yeah, go ahead. Take it.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me, at least, I think the coolest thing narrative-wise, is that it seems that straight up Tarkin is just going to be the antagonist, which makes sense because he mostly only ever deals with, outside of like the Tarkin book of the movies, he mostly is just dealing with troops and being a Moff and controlling, or being a Grand Moff and basically being a governor of sorts of the galaxy. But he's more military based because they're authoritarian, of course. But yeah, so I think it's really interesting to see that Tarkin's going to be the antagonist. He's a bit of an antagonist in Rebels, and the original movie, but you don't really get to see a lot of Tarkin. The book with him is really great. It's Timothy Zahn that wrote that as well, I believe. Was it? Who wrote the Tarkin book?
Keep talking.
But anyways, yeah.
The first one was James Luceno.
Yeah, it's James Luceno. Yeah, that is correct. But yeah, I really love Tarkin as a villain. I think it'll be really interesting. I think it will be a good pairing up. Obviously, in the story that Bad Batch is the one that they end up leaving the Empire, which seems to indicate that they definitely didn't execute Order 66. And it would make sense because and also they were never really assigned any Jedi. Like, they worked with Anakin in Clone Wars, but they were never part of a group. They were just like a special forces unit. Similar like clone commandos going on secret missions and versus like a battalion sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you, and this is kind of going off what Berg said in chat, if you watched Clone Wars 2008, which is how I have to refer to it in this episode, if you watch Clone Wars 2008, you're gonna use Disney Plus to watch Bad Batch. I mean, like Charlie's saying, Tarkin is going to be this overall plotting style villain. I think we're gonna see a really cool mini series going on here. It's going to combine a lot of the things I think we've seen in Clone Wars and even The Mandalorian in terms of villain style.
And Rebels, because also Fennec Shan's in there, so we'll get to see how she has a relationship and connection with clones. And we also know Rex is in there, so she's going to be familiar with both sides of it, with, being like a bounty hunter or a mercenary or whatever.
Yeah, and it's important to note, like, this is animated, which will be interesting.
Yeah, but it's cool that she gets to play the same character in 2 different eras.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Like, I think that's really cool, and that's just something that's actually able to work out.
It helps bridge continuity too, right?
Yeah. Also, if you look at most of the shots, and a lot of people have been saying this, you'll notice that Crosshair, one of the members of the Bad Batch, he's the sniper one, the marksman, he is not in the majority of the scenes with the crew, which would tend to make sense given his personality that he would be the one to stay with the Empire. So if he's one of the ones that knows how to defeat them and he's working with Tarkin, it looks for like a great pairing of antagonists. So you'll have one that's plotting and one that's more so in the field.
Yeah, that's what I'm really interested to see is how he's going to work out in this plot. They have a lot of material to work with, and like you said, that's why there's so many all these diehard Star Wars fans. If they weren't already using Disney Plus again, you're gonna have that subscription. You're gonna watch the fuck out of this because man, just get ready for a wild ride. I don't think any of us were expecting this. Charlie and I were kind of talking about this before the episode, but I don't think we have any idea what's going to come. I think we're going to get hit. Most of the shots we've seen have been from what is expected to be the first episode. So
I think it's all going to be the first episode or first two. The only ones I think would be a different episode is crap. What's the planet with the slave traders? I'm blanking on the species name. You haven't watched 2008 Clone Wars, my guy. That's the best Star Wars content there is.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that one. You gotta watch 2008 Clone
Wars. Although I do love Rebels, it's very toss up. But
Rebels is great, but you gotta watch this. Yeah. Anyways, let's get back to this so we don't just cover the news for the whole time.
Oh yeah, but yeah. Also, another thing to know about Bad Batch. There's a clone. She's a girl named Omega, and she will be joining the Bad Batch from what we can tell. So that's very interesting. Because the name Omega, we can infer that that's probably the last clone. We don't really know. We'll find out.
I'm going to imagine so. I think that's going to be a pretty
and she's also, Berg, if you haven't seen the trailer, she is a, like, basically, like a, you know how they have, like, the younger, well, you haven't seen Bad Batch, or Clone Wars, 2008, but they have, like, younger clones that are in training that come up, but it's basically the same thing, but she's a girl, so I guess we'll see. Yeah, it's a non-spoiler-y trailer because I have no idea what the fuck's happening.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. It's like we've seen both of this content, so no matter what, I think we'll get into this. Everyone's gonna have a good time watching the first episode.
And the first episode's 70 minutes.
Yeah, these are long.
Yeah, which I'm excited about.
So these will be full-length shows. They're not going to be shorts. They're not going to be half episodes. Or first one's 70 minutes. They didn't really say how long the other ones are going to be, but I imagine they're also going to be more long form like The Mandalorian. So
yeah.
But moving on, more exciting news. And I'm going to cover this because I had to do all this research. But the Obi-Wan Kenobi show has finally had a major cast release. Obviously, as we know, we've talked about on the show, Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen are going to be reprising their roles of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, which is pretty major for Hayden Christensen. He hasn't been able to do a lot in Star Wars since the early 2000s, so it'd be great to see that. But we have also got a really star-studded cast going here, and this is only what's been told to us. So Moses Ingram, the actress from The Queen's Gambit, is going to be in there. She's from a couple other things, but she's most famous for right now. Joel Edgerton and Bonnie Piesse are going to be playing Owen and Beru Lars, reprising their roles from the prequels. Kamal Najani, he's that jacked Pakistani American comedian and actor famous from his stand-up in The Big Sick. He's going to be in it. Indira Varma, who's a British actress from Game of Thrones. We've got Rupert Friend, who is a British actor who played Agent 47 and Hitman Agent 47 and was an actor in Pride and Prejudice. Oh my God, there's so much.
Yeah.
O.J. Jackson Jr., the eldest son of Ice Cube, who he's super famous for his film debut where he played his father in Straight Outta Compton. Sung Kong, he is a Fast and Furious actor from like Tokyo Drift to Fast and Furious 6, very famous Fast and Furious actor. Simone Kessell, New Zealand actress for The Reckoning and The Crossing, very famous TV shows. And Benny Safdie, an American actor who was famous for his recent roles in Uncut Gems and Good Times. So this is kind of crazy for Disney because they usually hold back on hiring like famous actors.
Yeah.
But I think for this show, they're already like, okay, we already have Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. and all these characters who've already been in our Star Wars universe, there's already this like, I don't want to call it separation. Like this is a Star Wars celebrity, so I think they
Yeah.
just went full fucking force. They're like, fuck it, let's pump this bitch
Yeah, they're
up.
like, if we're gonna do quick castings, then we're probably gonna like it's gonna be probably a smaller scale story than usual. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be more narrative focused. It's like 6 hour long episodes, right? It's like it's basically like a trilogy in time
Yeah,
of
and
just
the important
Obi-Wan.
thing that Charlie and I kind of discovered, and I don't think people have really talked about in the news articles, but if you go on IMDb, you can kind of see how each character, how like what episodes they're really cast for. And Kamal Najani, he isn't every episode.
Yeah, at
That
least
we
right
know of
now.
as of right now, which is very interesting. Um, we'll see if that changes because sometimes with shows that happens with IMDb.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a mini series, and we really haven't got much information on how long the content been, especially since we just recently started production.
Yeah.
But
I
fingers
actually
crossed.
saw
I'm
somebody
excited.
on TikTok was like driving around like the set that they've already started building.
Yeah,
So like,
it's super cool.
yeah. I'm trying to see if I can find it on my phone, but I don't know where it is. But anyways, yeah, I'm really excited for this show. It's gonna be really great. I have full confidence. What I really like about all the Disney stuff that's coming out is that I really have full confidence in everything being good. I mean, despite, you know, episode 9, but not my fault the plot was stupid.
Well, I think they have moved to directors and castings and writers who are much more oriented towards writing shows in episodic formats. Um,
Oh, also, I didn't forgot to mention Saw Gerrera is also in Bad Batch.
yeah,
So,
which
also is
would
going to be
be
played by Forrest Whitaker. So,
which think he's a god voice actor, so that'll
yeah.
be great. But anyways, where the movie formats is where they've kind of been falling short. They really struggle with that short format. So, I mean, everything right now, because we're in such a new period of Star Wars, people are speculating whether something will be good or something will be bad. And to be honest, I wish I could tell you it, or even like speculate or even have an opinion. But I think most things we're just going to have to unfortunately wait and see, or
Yeah.
fortunately wait and see and be surprised, hopefully, about how good things are. But
Yeah.
as of right now, we it's just something we've got to deal with.
Yeah.
Because this is also new. Like this
Right.
is the first time they've released a whole animated series. This is the first time they've had a major mini series that has any
Yeah.
continuity
Well, on
to
Disney
Star Wars
Plus.
on Disney. Well, this is all that new Star Wars timeline
Yeah.
we're getting. The new Disney timeline where they're adding stuff in and
Yeah.
kind of pulling and picking. So we'll see. That's all I really have to say about that continuity kind of stuff.
I think something important like to keep in mind going forward with this is that not all Star Wars content is necessarily created equal, and it's not always as important. Because Berg just said he's worried about Andor, but like I think the thing to keep in mind is not everything necessarily needs to be impactful. Things can be personal in Star Wars. They can be small scale in Star Wars. Not everything needs to be as big and epic as everything that happens in the trilogies.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because even in Andor, which is Andor is based off of Rogue One. Rogue One was more interesting from a character perspective than a plot perspective.
Yeah.
So if they keep that trend, I mean, it will. If they wanted to make it really good, it's probably going to be almost inconsequential
Yeah.
to the overall plot. Which I mean, most things are. That's kind of the issues with the prequels. It's like most things have already happened. So how do you make something that's consequential to your viewers if they already know everything happened?
Yeah, like if we already know Anakin's Darth Vader. You even showed us in the poster.
As we've seen in The Mandalorian and the most recent Clone Wars season, we're moving towards really character-driven content.
Yeah.
Really character-driven content.
It's character and relationship based very heavily. I mean, Star Wars always is, but like just the story of, Din and Grogu is very personal, even though what they're doing has a larger impact on this part of the galaxy, at least that it seems. But yeah.
All right. So speaking of characters, important characters, they're finally announced the end to the Star Wars Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy. That's going to be officially ending with the book title Lesser Evil, which will release on November 16th, 2021.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. That's a really good series, and we'll kind of get to see what their end to that plot arc is. It's definitely one that you want to check out. Check out the Star Wars Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy.
Yeah, that all takes place before Star Wars Rebels.
Yep.
So you get to see a lot of Thrawn. I mean, it's a Thrawn books trilogy. Obviously, you get lots of Thrawn, but you basically get to see how he kind of develops, and you learn more about him, and it kind of contextualizes Rebels in an interesting way. So I'm really interested to see how this finishes and how that ties in. That's probably what I'm going to be reading over the summer. Is that trip or the first two books before that one comes out? I need to catch up. I need to finish the Alphabet Squadron trilogy because that just finished up. So yeah, lots of Star Wars books. Also, I need to catch up on High Republic stuff because I read that book and I haven't done much else.
Yeah, I know. I know a couple of our viewers, including Berg, were wanting us to read the comics. And if that's something you want us to do and kind of talk about, just let us know.
Yeah.
If there's something you want us to cover in the future, you can drop in our Twitch chat, leave us a comment on Twitter or anything like that. We would love to kind of tailor this to what you guys want. So if you guys have any requests for the any content, let us know, especially when it comes to the comics, because Charlie and I, that's kind of the place we have the least experience.
Yeah, it's our weak spot.
When I was a kid, I read a lot of Star Wars comics, but I've read the stuff that's not canon, so that doesn't fucking matter to you, right? So
yeah. Yeah, it's like and obviously like I want it to be like done sort of stuff. At least like when Bad Batch comes out, I think it's going to be weekly. And I think those will come out every Friday like Mando did. So we can just recap the shows, which will be nice as like just little segments.
That's kind of what we'll do, because as we move into the summer, we'll be doing weekly instead of every 2 weeks. But
yeah.
All right, Charlie, we have one last bit of news, and then we'll move right into our topic. So I'll take this one from here.
Yeah, I'll take it.
You want me to take it, or you want to take it?
You take it.
Perfect. Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome, son.
So Star Wars content has been surprisingly released by Disney. Not new Star Wars content, old Star Wars content. They released a new batch of shows, which they're now labeling as Star Wars Vintage, which is their fancy way of saying this is old Star Wars stuff that's not canon at all.
Yeah.
So we've got Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure. You're going to notice a theme here, by the way. Ewoks, The Battle for Endor, The Story of the Faithful Wookiee.
Ewoks, the cartoon.
The cartoon, which is fucking horrible, but I would love to do an episode on.
I don't know if I can watch 2 seasons of a shitty cartoon.
No. What they've labeled as Clone Wars 2D Micro Series Volume 1 and 2, which, if you are a 90s kid, you remember as just the original Clone Wars cartoon.
In 2003.
2003, which is what we are here to talk about, because Charlie and I dug deep into our nostalgia and jumped way back to 2003 when we were just little kids.
I was literally 3 or 4. Depending on what time of the year it came out.
It came out, I want to say later in 2003.
If it's after June 25th, then I was 4.
But remember, the Clone Wars cartoon that is now canon was released in 2008. So, Charlie and I had a good bit of time to watch our Clone Wars on this.
Yeah.
Which is really funny, because when it comes to this, when I would say, like, for someone who's only seen the 2008 Clone Wars, it came out in 2003. It was made by Jenny Tarkovsky, who was the director who's known from Dexter's Laboratory, Samurai Jack, Powder Puff Girls. So if you're a 90s kid,
I got it.
If you're a 90s, yeah, you're good. Yeah. So Berg, you've seen the canon one. If you're a 90s kid, you've probably watched this. It's kind of funny because
I had very loose memories of it. I was like watching it, and I was like, I've unlocked a memory I entirely forgot about. It's like when you see that like one bear that I think it's literally just called Little Bear.
Yeah,
It's
so
like I was
Berg
like,
and Chat is probably you are in. We'll cover this in a second. And I'm going to touch your questions because I think if you're listening to this and you've never watched it, this is pertinent to you. First thing Berg is saying, he's never watched it, and he's asking, is it even worth it? And let me say this. First of all, if you want to watch it on Disney Plus, you want to watch the whole thing, 2 hours. That's not even a weekend.
yeah, it's
You can
it's
wake
the
up
length of a
early.
feature film.
It's like a feature film. It's a little bit broken up, and here's why. It's 3 to 5 minute shorts for the first season, about 64 minutes. The second season is 12 to 15 minutes. Before I get into all the craziness of it, if you're a Star Wars fan, fucking watch it.
Just do
If
it.
you like high octane Star Wars content, watch it.
If you want to
If
see Mace
you,
Windu actually be badass for once, watch it.
if you want to see where most Clone Wars and prequel characters got their start, watch it.
Yeah.
It is badass. Now, will I say it is as impactful as 2008? No.
No,
Is
but
it as
it's
deep
badass
as
and it's great.
2008? No. And this is what Charlie's really saying. Action, wonderful. Animation, perfect. Sound design, great. Story, not really.
Story.
Character development.
Neat.
It's fucking 3 to 5 minutes. What were you expecting, my dude? It's not that great. But here's the thing. Clone Wars 2003. Literally the debut of Grievous, General Grievous. Prior to episode 3, which came out in 2005, where he was released in the movies, he stomps out as this badass,
It's so good.
grueling villain. If
They
you want to see
literally
what
made him terrifying.
he was terrifying. He was the villain. He was the most blunt force villain that's ever been seen in Star Wars. He was scarier than Darth Vader when you first started watching Star Wars. He comes into the scene. He doesn't fight like anyone else. He's not afraid to hide and skitter around and peer out of nowhere. He
Yeah.
kills you with whatever, and it's just horrifying.
Yeah,
And it's
he's
very
literally
interesting.
designed as a character to like be distracting and get Jedi off of their focus.
Their guard.
Yeah.
Because literally George Lucas came to Jendy Garcia and his team and they said, we have this character idea. And if you would like to use it before we make 2000, our last movie for the prequels, feel free, because he's a Clone Wars commander. We said, this is going to be a droid commander. And we want him to be just kind of a martial arts, almost hand-to-hand combat kind of guy who really gets in the face of the Jedi, distracts them, really, really hard for them to fight. And they went, okay, well, we're going to base this off of Brazilian martial arts. So he is fucking insane. He is super cool to watch. The action is super great because they base it off of actual martial combat. So it's a blast to watch. And let me just say this. Not only is General Grievous cool, but Obi-Wan is fucking crazy. He jumps up like a 20-story building in the first 10 minutes. All the villains are great, especially the ones that were introduced, because we got the first time we see Grievous, but we also get Asajj
and
Ventress
Dirge
for the first time, and Dirge, who was just recanonized.
Like as of like a couple weeks ago.
And
Between the last episode, they brought this character back, which is crazy.
Which is awesome because I didn't even know that. The voice actors in this are some of the OGs. Like if you watch
James Arnold Taylor is also still Obi-Wan, which is great because he was actually Obi-Wan before he was, or no, he was also, this was while he was doing Ratchet and Clank, so while he's Ratchet.
So he started out in this, and then he carried him over. Now I will say one of the worst part about this show is I'm really sorry, Matt Lucas, but your Anakin Skywalker voice was literally you making an impersonation of Hayden Christensen, and no one fucking wanted that.
Yeah, it's literally just episode 2 him. And it's like, ooh.
Grey DeLisle, who is a super famous voice actress, does an amazing job. She's Asajj Ventress, she's Shakti, she's Padme, she's a bunch of side characters. But Asajj, her voice is why that character exists in 2008. She is creepy. I literally got chills when I heard her talk for the first time since I was a kid. And Charlie had just put Dirge up on the screen, and we're going to talk about him a second
Yeah.
because if you're going to watch this series for anything, watch the first season and watch it for Dirge because Dirge is probably the coolest villain in Star Wars. He's a Jedi, so he's basically immortal. He can't be killed. He's a formless build. Well, he can. Spoiler. He can be killed, kind of. He's a formless being who's super strong. He's just formless, can do whatever the hell he wants. He's existed for, I don't know if they'll change this, but he existed for 2,000 years, and he pretty much exists only to kill people, specifically Mandalorians. So he hates clones.
Yeah, at least in Legends. So
they're not going to change that fact. They've already portrayed him in Mandalorian style armor. So
yeah, I mean, regardless, it's still going to be really interesting. I think it's supposed to lead up to all the bounty hunter stuff they're doing now. So they have a bounty hunter series. So.
Which Dirge was a bounty hunter who, in this show, in the Clone Wars 2003, was really just hired as Count Dooku to kill, hired by Count Dooku to just kill people. So he's canonically a bounty hunter, but the only reason he's a bounty hunter is he doesn't need money. He doesn't need anything. He just wants to kill people.
Yeah. He's basically a very effective murderer machine.
Yeah, he's just a machine. So
looks like Total Drama Island.
That's because it's so one of the things that people have said to me, because my girlfriend and I watched this together, and I've other people asked me about this before. The 2003 show looks like so much early 2000s because that was the animating style.
Yeah,
and
but
it's really
so
funny,
good.
But I will actually say it's actually to the benefit of this show because they're able to pull off action shots like never before.
Yeah, it's better than Samurai Jack's action, and that's one of the best action cartoons ever.
People have asked me like, how would you describe
outside of
this
anime
show?
shit? But
yeah, for real. How would you describe this show? It's Star Wars the anime.
It really is.
It really is. It is crazy action. You are going to sit there and be like, wow, there is no story, but that's okay because the villains are badass. All the Jedi are badass. I mean, Mace Windu becomes, you understand why he's even there in the prequels and what he was supposed to be. Because he literally comes in, and if you don't watch it, I'm just going to let you know. Mace Windu is literally fights a droid army, but he's also the reason Grievous is portrayed in the third movie as being so sickly and injured because Mace Windu originally force crushed all his robotic organs.
Yeah, literally from afar. Like he was not close to him.
Not even close.
He was like, "Oh, he's in the ship. Oh, he's getting in," and that's why General Grievous coughs all the time
because he had his organs crushed. The only things remaining other than his brain in his body just fucking decimated by Mace Windu from like a mile and a half away. The clones were super tactical, likes of which we've only seen in Clone Wars 2008, which is, if you watch this, it's so heavenly inspired. It really, that's like why we're trying to say, watch this, because Charlie and I took the time and we rewatched it and we realized we have to talk about this.
Yeah. I was rewatching and I was like, we need to. This gets an episode.
It has to. I mean, you look at this and you say, this is why everything in the Clone Wars was attempted. I mean, there's Grievous and there's the Ventress and all the villains we've talked about, but even the clones in Star Wars, you know, 2 in Star Wars 2, you just, I don't want to put this. You just see clones die. You don't see clones get to be people, get to have actions, to get to be tactical. There's no battling. It's just shooting back and forth like musket fire in an old Civil War show. Like, it's just stupid. I mean, when we get to see the ARC Troopers for the first time, they have this Special Force Spec Ops style that, honestly, it's the Bad Batch before the Bad Batch existed.
Yeah, in Commandos before Commandos.
Yeah. It is why all the badass clones that, us 90s, 2000s kids are obsessed with, it's why they exist.
Yeah. Like, the show just, it takes so much inspiration and origin from it, and the kind of the 2008 show, it really expands on it, and like I don't know, it makes. I think the 2008 show makes you can see the shades of it in the 2008 version, which I think shows the impact better than the 2003 show actually did itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is it's such a fun. It's fun. It's fun.
It
That's the best way
is.
to describe it. It's a blast to watch. You sit there for 60 minutes and you go, wait, it feels like it's only been 10 because you are on the edge of your seat watching this. Whereas when you watch the Clone Wars 2008, our canon series, it's very steeped in character development and plot development and lessons. And it's a good kid show or really a good young adult show because it just drives you through all these lessons and all these stories. And you mean the first episode is about showing the value of life and how you can't consider the clones just to be cannon fodder. You watch the 2003, fuck the lessons, throw them out the window. We're killing people. We're
Every five
jousting on
seconds.
speeder every 5 seconds. We're jousting on speeder bikes. We're beating people to death with our bare hands because Jedis have fucking super force karate. It's so stupid, but it's so fun.
It's so good. Like it's there. I got that GIF up on the screen.
Yeah, like watch that GIF. If you are watching this on audio,
you're listening to it on
watch
audio.
the show. Watching on audio.
I have the GIF up. Yeah, for visualization, I have the GIF up of Mace Windu literally just being insane with his fist as he loses his lightsaber in a fight.
Yeah, so he loses his lightsaber in this fight where he fights a droid army by himself.
Yeah, and literally all by himself. There's literally no clones for the majority of this.
Most of the fight, he's forced to use only the Force in his bare hands, to which he beats metal robots to death with his bare fucking hands. And so parts of 2003 are canon, but that's a whole nother thing.
It's weird.
It's a weird
it's like the best interpretation of Jedi or of Anakin actually getting knighted, and then he just comes up with a Padawan in the original Clone Wars movie.
Yeah. So just go watch this if you're on audio, because I can't physically describe to you the feeling you get when you watch Mace Windu just kick a million robot asses
at the same time.
At the same damn time. And also, here's my favorite scene and Charlie's favorite scene from season 1. Kit Fisto, who is just a fucking meme in the prequels movies, he slices a ship in half underwater with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Fuck. It was so dope. It's so cool.
There's so many good gifts from this show because it's animated so well.
It is really animated for combat. And that's the thing. The voice acting is inconsequential because there's no lines. For the first
this is my favorite thing in the entire show, actually. It's just this one clone.
Yeah, being a badass. He's just being a badass. For the first 45 minutes, 45 minutes, I say, not a single clone speaks.
Yeah, they just kill shit. It's great.
It's fucking stupid.
The most words you get out of them in the entire show is "this way, sir," right away.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really all I have for my notes, and it all just sums up to it's super badass. It's a fun time. Just take a weekend and watch this.
Yeah,
because I mean, you're really going to distill down and watch and say, "Oh my gosh, okay, this is why Grievous is this way. This is why Asajj Ventress is this way. This is why even Padme in the Clone Wars is like this." And I say this loving the 2008 cartoons, but in the 2003 version, they're able to portray the love between Anakin and Padme with literally no words. Yeah. And really get that across in a believable way. The first scene you get of them, both of them in that series, is them reaching out to each other and their love theme is playing. And you see this darkness of both their eyes and this sadness. And you feel like you don't need to know anything about these characters. They're clearly in love and he's being shipped off to war because he's made a commander for the first time. And I think that scene alone, which is in literally the first 10 minutes, framed what the entire relationship of the 2008 version was going to be.
Yeah, and it well, yeah. Also, it did their relationship somehow better than the movie. Also, yeah,
Of course it did,
yeah,
because it wasn't forced. It was part of the content, and Anakin really got time to develop in a way that made sense for Anakin through action and combat. He was such a warrior character to begin with.
yeah.
I mean, and this is something I asked Charlie before the episode, but I want to ask him now. To me, I have my opinions on this, but I want to hear him say it first.
No, you say it first.
Charlie, do you feel that Anakin's arc, how do I word this? Like, what was the most powerful version of Anakin's arc to you? The Clone Wars 2008, Clone Wars 2003, or the prequels? Like, what was the most, like, wow, or shit that's so believable or deep or just really spoke to you?
I still think. Also, if you haven't watched it, I'm about to spoil season 5 is it season 6 or 7 of Clone Wars. I'm about to spoil.
For
But
everyone.
anyways, mute it for like 10 seconds. But for me, it's the hardest part for Anakin is when Ahsoka leaves the Order. I still think that's the most impactful thing. I think that's the most emotion you ever get out of that character.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
well, outside of Padme's death in Episode 3, but like for me, I think that's the one where it's like that is his most. I feel like that's his most prominent failing. It's something that he feels he definitely could have done better.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I really loved the 2008, and I just look on that with so much love. But when I watched the 2003 again, and I'm not going to spoil, this isn't really spoiling because there's
'Cause-
not a lot of substance to the 2003, and I mean that in the best way.
yeah,
When Anakin defeats Asajj,
yes, I do
combat
love that.
first, it's such a badass scene. They're in this almost
They're on
Mexico.
Yavin.
Yeah, they're on Yavin, but it's made to look like Mexico. I literally, it looks like the sun temples and the moon temples.
Yeah,
They're fighting on these large temples in this combat, and he literally loses his lightsaber. And instead of recovering his own, he takes Asajj's, her red lightsaber, and beats the living hell out of her. And during this scene, he's just striking down on her while she's cowering on the ground
yeah,
to try to, and the ground is cracking beneath him, and you see shots of the faces of every Jedi in the Jedi Order just horrified at what he's done. And as she falls to her death after he breaks the ground beneath her, he just screams. I just
just
felt
sheer anger.
just sheer anger and hatred, and just like, I don't even want to say hatred. He was having such satisfaction in the death of his enemy,
Yeah,
and it was a point in which, beyond all the emotional bullshit that some people kind of get tired of with Anakin and the love and all that stuff, this is where Anakin felt like a warrior who crossed the line. This, for me, this is where Anakin made the most sense, and I didn't have to question anything. He
agreed.
was just obsessed with being the best, and he defeated someone who had defeated him
And his squadron.
aerial combat and destroyed his squadron. Of course, he watched his men die. He's going to want to destroy this person. And he comes back to the planet and tells Obi-Wan without a crack on his face. He said, "Oh, I defeated them. You know, that person you said it was a trap. Yep, I defeated the Sith."
It was a trap, and they're gone. Like it.
And that's what turned him. It was literally for that purpose. He was supposed to kill her,
Yeah,
which is basically what happens to Count Dooku.
yeah.
I swear that's the inspiration for the third. He kills Count Dooku, and that's what his turning point is.
What's weird is that sometimes the show makes a little bit more sense in context when comparison to 2008 in some very little ways.
Yeah,
But it's also like I'm so glad we have 7 seasons of what happened in like 3 or 4 years of Star Wars rather than a 2-hour cartoon. So
yeah. I mean, there's reasons to flesh it out, but the 2-hour cartoon, that's what I'm really trying to get across. Is it's so interesting how you can distill all of the emotion and the craziness of what is the Clone Wars on paper into 2 hours of 3 to 5 minute shorts.
Yeah.
I mean, and half of it's stuff that's not even canon, like underwater laser lances
Or
when the Mon Calamari are fighting the Karen,
or just actual lances.
or just actual lances because they're jousting. They're actually technically, oh shit, they're not force
Are they
pikes.
vibro lancers?
I think they're vibro lancers.
That sounds like a Star Wars thing.
Vibro this,
Vibro
that.
that. If it's a knife, it's a vibro knife. It's a blade, it's a vibro blade. And that's what I've learned.
A vibro shank, a vibro spoon.
I love my vibro fork.
Yeah. Oh man.
But yeah, the show is really good. I highly recommend it to anyone and everyone. Like the animation's so good, and I really like how it was treated on Disney Plus. I think it's actually 60 frames. It might be insane.
60 frames.
And it's entirely widescreen. And it's HD like remastered. Like it was treated with care. They literally took it, I think, just straight from Blu-rays that it was on. So I think you could still buy it on Blu-ray.
Yeah, so I mean, you could have owned this Star Wars Clone Wars 2003 on anything, but I think it's a little bit upscaled for the Disney Plus version.
Yeah.
I don't know. They just remove all the bullshit. You start watching with the click of a button on Disney Plus, and you're just immediately in the action.
Yeah.
You're just immediately there. You're immediately watching, and it really throws you in. And I think part of that needs to be a lesson to future Disney content. And I really mean this. Disney, and really I want to say Lucasfilms and every Star Wars movie we've ever gotten, it feels the need to establish and get you somewhere before the action happens.
Yeah.
And going back and watching the 2003 version, it really just showed me that no, Star Wars is about that action and that raw emotion. Just give it to me.
Yeah.
Even if it's 3 to 5 minute chunks, I'm gonna love it.
Yeah.
Because what Star Wars represents, and especially the Clone Wars, which is such a traumatic time in that universe, you can distill that. You can really boil that down in a way that you couldn't have done with the original trilogy. You couldn't have done with the sequel trilogy because it represents so much strife, so much trauma, so much character development.
Yeah. It's like I think it's a good I guess I could say it's a good experiment in showing like emotion in it's good at telling a story without having much dialogue. It does a lot more showing than
telling.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's what I loved. I just absolutely adored about this show as a writer, as someone who's just a nerd in those spaces. I just really loved that the Asajj Ventress fight with Anakin, Asajj on Yavin, there is no dialogue.
None. And so
just fights
it's
her.
literally just like,
and then his scream, which I will give credit to the voice actor, which I just had it up, but now I'm forgetting.
And then you said that he was just imitating episode 2, which is accurate.
He was imitating Hayden Christensen, but his scream, which I think was detracted from that, really felt like the character. It felt like a moment of he has broken away and has submitted to his primal instinct. He has submitted to the dark side.
Yeah.
And it's just so impressive. It's really impressive. And I really wish they would go back and really think about what has been so successful in portraying what they're trying to portray. Because obviously Disney has tried to make more and more emotional and character driven content. So look at the stuff where they can do more with less.
Agreed. So yeah. Is that all we have for the show today?
Yeah, I think that's all the points I have. I mean, if anyone in chat has any questions and wants to talking about anything, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
talk about now. I mean, I think we really covered everything. I mean, we
Yeah.
obviously had a lot of
It's a
news.
2-hour cartoon with not much dialogue.
Yeah, so there's
Uh,
not much to talk about what changed or what has
yeah.
changed.
But it did
Definitely a
impact
lot
the
of
future show and future canon of Star Wars. The Star Wars chat on the Discord. Wait, did we not? Can you check it
Sorry.
so I don't fuck up the stream?
Yeah, absolutely. You're good. I got it right now. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Let's see what Berg posted. Berg, did you post this in our general chat or did you post this in Star Wars?
I think he posted it in Star Wars, but not the Star Wars show. I should really just make it down to 1. I'm a goober.
Yeah. Are you talking about how Skywalker Academy was trademarked?
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that, did we?
Yeah, that we didn't put that in our news.
Yeah.
Let us know if that's not what you're talking about.
No, that's what he's talking about for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Hey, Gats.
Hey, what's up, guys?
I don't really have much to say on it though.
I have mixed feelings, like honestly. But for me, the Skywalker Academy.
I mean, it's a story they need to tell soon.
It's a story they need to tell, but because I'm such a butthurt, sensitive guy, I think it really how they handled it in the sequels was damaging to that legacy. But with your prediction, hey, are they going to make a show from this bird? Yeah. They're going to make a show. They're almost certainly going to make a show and then have the Knights of Ren, or they're just going to have a really cutesy, like almost droids, the Resistance.
I could see it building up with comics first or something before they get to a show.
Yeah, I think they should do a comic series because I would think that would be
because I think they can build like post episode 6 Luke into around Mando time 6 and tell some stories in there. Maybe a book. I don't know. I think there's gonna be stuff that leads into it, but I definitely think we'll eventually see that. I feel like the interactions with Grogu, since we're not gonna be having Mark Hamill like actually be back as like normal, so we can't time travel sadly.
Yeah, I mean that new what's his name? The guy who's gonna be officially playing Luke Skywalker now, Sebastian Stan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still reportedly, but he even came out and said like, "Hey, this is what the future is gonna look like."
Yeah.
Which we definitely should have talked about that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we're definitely gonna see more.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't trademark it for no reason.
Yeah.
At all.
The only reason I could think about the reason why they would trademark it would be just brand protection if they didn't have because if they're still selling old Legends content that revolves around it in any way.
Yeah, I mean, Skywalker is already a trademark.
Right.
You can't post anything with Star Wars. So, I mean,
yeah,
the fact that it's Skywalker is kind of interesting. And Bert's kind of getting into chat where I kind of think this will go. I think it's going to be more animation than comics. I think they're going to have this whole side area where they're kind of getting into exploring these little niche areas with these kind of off-base shows or comics and animation, and then it's all going to tie back in. I mean, I think that's what we're going to see with Bad Batch. For the average non-average Star Wars viewer, Bad Batch, that's not a huge arc. That's not something that people think about all the time. If you're obsessed and love the clones, yeah, it's super badass, right? So I think that Skywalker Academy is likely to be an animated series to go somewhere a little bit.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Flesh something out that we really weren't thinking
about. I think that's the best way to approach it too.
Yeah.
I'd say it's that or comics, depending on what your story scale is.
Yeah, because either way, you're not worried about how are we going to tie this in, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, let's tell the story, let's tell the arc we're trying to tell here.
Yeah. And also, like, we never really get Luke in cartoon almost ever. I think he was technically in Rebels as a kid for, like, the very brief moment or something. There's something weird, I feel like. But anyways, there's literally like no animation of like Star Wars' most iconic character. So I think doing a show where he's like the main focus and he's trying to basically learn how to be a teacher and be an actual Jedi master, it can
To
lead to growth for
transition.
him and like do other things. Like I think that's a good way to do it. Also, if you have a cartoon and you can say, "Hey, Luke Skywalker's in this," and you can be like, "And Grogu," like if
Yeah, you
that's the
have
time
two
they're doing,
huge selling points because Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, that's your, hey, I'm 50, 60, 40. I watched Star Wars when I was a kid, early Star Wars.
yeah,
Our parents, essentially, for Charlie and I. Those are your selling points. That's why The
yeah.
Mandalorian did really well because it was right after that time. Um,
It
the
gives people the stuff they're familiar with in Star Wars. It's like, hey, we have we've like we've got a hunter, we have smugglers, we have mercenaries, and
yeah,
we
just to
have
be able to say you have
the
Boba Fett in
yeah,
your show,
and we have stormtroopers. Like,
yeah, it's huge. And I do like this point a lot that Burr's trying to make here. During our little question Q&A session here.
yeah,
Um, I do think this is getting them in the right direction if that's what they want to do. Is really like say, hey, I think people are kind of butthurt about what we did with Luke.
yeah,
Let's take some time and flesh him out and really try to establish what we wanted from him as a character.
yeah,
It's not going to be perfect, but it's a start. And if
yeah,
that's the way they're going to handle it, that's what I want as a fan. I
yeah,
want them to say, "Hey, we're not perfect, but we are trying to really understand what you want as this property. So let's just revisit."
yeah. And I don't, I, I'm still of the mind that I don't think it entirely ruins the character.
No, I mean
Like,
it never will. the
yeah,
The original trilogy exists in such a light that's so pure.
yeah,
I mean, there is countless fans who literally say, "Oh, my only Star Wars canon is the original trilogy. Nothing else exists."
yeah.
Nothing, nothing to them. That is their purity because that story, that arc about fatherhood and being a
It's
son,
yeah,
being a hero, being a rebel, what's right and what's wrong, that's so pure to them. That's so untouchable. That's
it
so part of their
yeah.
childhood, their upbringing.
And the trilogy, well, at least the first two trilogies, in my opinion, they're very full circle sort of thing. I mean, the prequels are more of a self fulfilling prophecy sort of deal, but
Yeah, I mean, it leaves it's a meaty chunk, and nothing
yeah,
is left off the bone at the end of that. You're cutting everything off. You're getting every morsel you can out of that story in that trilogy,
yeah,
which is why it's so interesting that they were able to build off of it
yeah,
because they touched on almost everything in that.
yeah. What I'd be more interested in terms of what they do with the or Skywalker Academy series is I'd just be interested to see who's attached to it. I have a feeling that if they're going with Grogu, there's no way that neither Dave Filoni or John Favreau would not be attached in it in some way, even if neither of them are playing the biggest role. You know,
I agree.
so yeah, that's all I have to really say on it.
Yeah. Does anyone have any other questions, comments, anything like that before we pack up and end the stream? It's
Yeah,
pretty good. I'm glad we got a good bit of content out of something that's only 2 hours.
I'd say so.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Now we got to figure out what we're gonna do the next episodes. But
But you can always check out our Twitter,
yeah,
which is
yeah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Both of us do actually. So if you want to keep updated on the show, follow us on Twitter at ORR Show on Twitter. Additionally, you can join my Discord, which is in the bio below. There's a link. And then there's also, if you want to buy our merch and support us, you can buy it on Redbubble. Every little bit helps, and it's pretty sick, and it's really comfortable. And apparently it's carbon neutral, so that's lit.
yeah. So if you're watching the stream right now, you can kind of see our logo at the bottom right corner. Usually Charlie and I are wearing those shirts, but
Yeah,
you gotta watch, give them a break. So
yeah. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Share it with your friends, your family, anyone that loves Star Wars. And we'll talk to you guys later.